Good evening, brothers and sisters. I did not anticipate that I would make a second video, but it is okay because sometimes God has other plans, and even if I don't understand, even if I'm not aware why, I say thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you for allowing me to see that there's a good reason why I'm doing this video. And the reason is because a wonderful brother named Philip, he commented on my last video and asked, what do I hear and see when it comes to my hallucinations? And I am not sleepy right now. I'm having a hard time trying to lay down, and I just don't want to sleep, or I can't go to sleep, either one. And so I'm gonna answer Philip's question with this video. So that's why I'm up later than usual, because I am a little bit not necessarily manic, but my hallucinations are keeping me up tonight. So the question is, what do I hallucinate, both auditory-wise as well as visual? And sometimes I have tactile, so touch, and taste sometimes. So we're going to talk about all of the different hallucinations that I have. So let's talk about the big one, which happens, I would say, 90% of the time. About 90% of the time is I hear voices 24/7. And what happens for me is, in the beginning, when I was a junior in high school, the voices that I heard started out as positive. They started out as voices I weren't necessarily scared of. They weren't voices they weren't aggressive, they weren't mean. In the beginning, my hallucinations were actually quite helpful. They would talk about how good I'm doing, that that I'm smart, that they really were encouraging. The voices in the beginning of my illness were encouraging. That's what I'm trying to say. And as I got older, the voices went from being encouraging to being ruthless and demeaning and vulgar and violent, aggressive. And so right now, today, I hear about 4 to 7 distinct voices, meaning I have given them names. So a couple of them, there's Legion, which he is what I would describe as a very manipulative demon who he knows which buttons to press. He knows what to say in what situation to set me off. And when Legion manifests himself, when I see him visually, he's always in a nice suit, like I would say the kind of suit that you find in the show Peaky Blinders. Like, he looks very nice, and he has this pale white skin, often with red eyes, and he has sharp vampire-like teeth, and he has this very creepy smile. And so that's Legion. There's another voice, Skylar, who I hear all the time as well, every day, 24/7. She is what I would describe as a emo goth princess. She very much loves the color black. She loves to wear old Victorian-esque clothes, like from the Victorian age. She, I would say, is probably one of my most violent hallucinations. Like, she will command me to cut myself, to hurt myself, Skylar oftentimes yells and screams at me to try to get me to self-harm. So she's very violent. And then there's Cheyenne. Cheyenne I would describe as a Kentucky country cowgirl, I guess. She loves wearing cowgirl boots with jeans and a flannel and a cowboy hat. That's how she manifests herself. And then the fourth voice, I nicknamed Belle, but that's short for Belazar. But Belle is a voice that he's very tricky, because sometimes he'll be mean and violent and argumentative, and then other times he tries to sweet talk. He tries to get on my good side, even though I know he's being tricky, that he has other plans. He has plans to knock me off balance, per se. And so those are the four voices, auditory-wise, that I hear the most, which is every day, 24/7. And like I described, I see them visually too. You know, I told you Legion likes to wear a nice Peaky Blinders dress, like suit, very proper. You know, Cheyenne loves her cowgirl boots and jeans. Skylar loves her Victorian-esque black dress. You know, and I do visually see other things sometimes, like Art the Clown from the Terrifier movie series. I've hallucinated Pennywise. I've hallucinated Chucky, you know, the doll Chucky that runs around and kills people. You know, so I've hallucinated horror movie characters, just like Ghostface and Pinhead from the Hellraiser movie series. And so either I'm hallucinating the big four, which I told you, Legion, Skylar, Cheyenne, and Belle, or I hallucinate horror movie characters. And what I'd like to describe it as this, is that the voices, 24/7, 90% of the time, they are what are giving me the most problems. And then if I get really stressed out, if I get to the point that I'm gonna have a psychotic episode and I'm gonna hurt myself, or I'm a danger to other people, what happens is I visually hallucinate those voices, and so that adds on even more noise, even more violence, even more aggression, and I just don't function. I can't function when that happens. So, everyday voices, yes. And then if things get really bad and I'm stressed out, then I visually see those voices. And I'll say that when I visually hallucinate, things have changed quite a lot, to where in the beginning I was very scared, because I was like, what the hell's happening? Why am I seeing Chucky? Why am I seeing Ghostface? Why am I seeing Pinhead? Why am I seeing Pennywise? You know, why am I seeing zombies? Like, I would be sitting in a Starbucks and I'd be visually hallucinating zombies eating people alive and chasing people. I'd be visually hallucinating animals, like a lion or a tiger, tackle someone and eat someone. Like, sometimes even I have visually hallucinated a doctor, a surgeon, operating on a person with no anesthesia, and the person is, like, eyes open, they're alive, and they're screaming, and there's blood going everywhere. I've hallucinated that. And so that's what gets me the most, are the voices and the visual hallucinations. And like I described, in the beginning, they were really fucking scary, but now, after 17, 18 years of being schizophrenic, they're mostly just annoying now, like very annoying. Half the time I'm not even angry anymore. Like, I'm just like, I'm annoyed. I'm like, I expect this. I know what's gonna happen every day. I know that you're gonna be here every day, so I'm just like, you're so annoying. Why can't I just not have you around? And so it went from being scary when I was 17, 18 to now I'm 35 and my illness is just really fucking annoying. It's crazy how things change and how we become accustomed and things become the usual, things become comfortable. My schizophrenia I've grown comfortable with because I've had 17, 18 years of practice. Also, there's a couple things. Sometimes I have tactile hallucinations to where what I'm hallucinating, Legion, Skylar, Cheyenne, Belle, Art the Clown, whoever it is. Sometimes I hallucinate them touching me physically. So I literally hear them, see them, and I feel them touching my hand, touching my shoulder, rubbing my neck, rubbing my face. And it's so triggering for me because I don't like physical touch very much. Physical touch just creeps me out, and physical touch makes me feel uncomfortable. And a lot of that has to do with my biological father molesting me when I was a child. And so physical touch it's an ick. Like, I just don't like it. And the hallucinations know that. So they physically touch me, make me uncomfortable. And when they do that, that leads to anxiety, which anxiety then leads to suicidal thoughts, which lead to self-harm. And you can see that there's steps to where I go from kind of handling things to, oh shit, my schizophrenia is taking me down a very dark, lonely, painful road. And then sometimes I have taste hallucinations, meaning I could eat pancakes, waffles, eggs, scrambled eggs, cereal. I could eat whatever, but it tastes like rusted copper. Almost like you're put a penny in your mouth and it's just that rusty copper penny taste. I have had that hallucination a couple times. It doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, I know that's a trigger. It's a sign for me to fucking watch out, because there's something coming. There's something big coming. And so those are the 4 hallucinations that I have the most: auditory, visual, touch, and taste. I just wanted to give Philip this breakdown because Philip asked if I could break down what do I hallucinate on a daily basis. And so, for example, today, and I'll describe today because usually it's pretty similar what I hallucinate on a daily basis. Today, the voices were all day, Legion, Skylar, Cheyenne, and then there were moments today to where the auditory hallucinations annoyed me to the point that I was arguing with them a little bit and I was talking back to them. And because I was interacting with the voices, they manifested themselves so I visually saw them, which means I got in an altercation, arguing match, a yelling match with my hallucinations. And that is not cool because oftentimes that leads to me just yelling and screaming and shouting, and the people around me are looking at me like, what the hell is his problem? Like, he's shouting at air, he's shouting at nothing. Like, what is his problem? And so I had to catch myself several times today being like, Steven, you're shouting, you're causing an issue, a problem, you need to stop. And so I really had to catch myself in the moment and be like, people around you don't see or hear what you see or hear, Only you are seeing and hearing it. So you need to stop. And that happens sometimes. But what I've noticed is as I got older, the visual hallucinations coming from horror movies, coming from scary movies, my brain, my mind takes those images and recreates them, and that's why I hallucinate them. I think because my mind is intrigued by them, and so it thinks, you're intrigued by them, they don't scare you, so why don't I just put them in your life and have your brain just make them real? And I think that's one of the things that happened, to where, because my hallucinations went from scary to annoying, as I got older, my brain thought, it's okay, I can take Pennywise, I can take Ghostface, I can take Chucky, I can take Art the Clown, I can take Pinhead or Deep Throat, I can take these characters and put them in your life because they're not scary. And it's so fucking annoying, because I'm like, yeah, I'm not scared of them, but they're distracting. Like, I can't watch a movie without being distracted. I can't listen to music without being distracted. I can't have a conversation without being distracted. God, I fucking hate it. And so, that is what it's like, for my hallucinations, that I don't drive because of my hallucinations. I don't drive because I get distracted. I don't drive because I've gotten accidents because of my hallucinations distracting me. I've totaled my car like 3 or 4 times, and I can't focus on the road because I'm listening to Legion or Skylar or Cheyenne, or, I'm seeing Art the Clown in my back seat, taking out his toys from his bag of wonders. It's just annoying. I can't focus. And so that's why I don't drive. That's why I take the bus usually. But even if I take the bus, I still get distracted, because oftentimes my hallucinations will sit next to me on the bus, and they'll try to poke and prod and annoy me to get a reaction. And it's, no matter where I go, that's what it's like. Bus, restaurant, movie theater, park. Like, no matter where I go, my hallucinations follow. And another hallucination that I've seen, I would say not every day, but it happens occasionally, like maybe once or twice a week. I see a little girl in a flower dress, like she's a flower girl in a wedding, and she's tossing flowers as she walks down the aisle. I've seen this little girl who, she reminds me of the movie Children of the Corn. Like, you look in her eyes and you just see evil, you just see darkness, you just see black, and she just likes to stare and just gaze at my soul. And I've seen her a couple times. But, yeah. I've talked about this before, but I wanted to make this video because Philip asked a wonderful question, and so I wanted to give him an answer. I posted pictures of what I hallucinate before, so, you can go through my TikTok, and I would probably say you would have to scroll for a little bit, because I've made a lot of videos, so I've talked about this before, but hopefully this is helpful. Philip, hopefully this gives you an idea of what my hallucinations are like. A couple of extra things I'm thinking of before I end this video. One of the reasons why I don't watch a lot of TV is because when I'm watching TV, what I see on the screen changes and alters, and I start hallucinating things that aren't actually happening on the TV. It's almost like what's happening on the TV jumps out of the TV and plays real in front of me. And so I get distracted, because I'm like, wait, the thing on the TV just came out of the TV, and I see it standing in front of me. Like, what is going on? Or if I listen to music, oftentimes after a short bit of time, what I'm hearing and listening to music-wise, it changes, and it starts talking to me, and I think that the song is talking directly to me, giving me orders to follow, giving me things to do, like I'm on a top secret mission. And so that's why I don't watch a lot of TV, and I don't listen to a lot of music, because my hallucinations, my mind plays tricks on me quite often. So it's just, it's difficult, yes, but this has become my normal. This has become my life. This has become what I'm used to. So this is just part of my everyday. So hopefully this answers your question, Philip. This is 20 minutes, but I think it's a good 20 minutes. I just wanted you to know, Philip, I love you so much. So peace and blessings, and have a wonderful night, Philip. I love you so much. Peace.